Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Atul, and today we'll be learning Kubernetes installation. And for Kubernetes installation, there are too many ways, but we'll be learning three ways to install the Kubernetes. So first is lesson one, Minikube installation. So the way what I said, we'll be learning three ways. So first way is a Minikube installation. So Minikube we can install in AWS or VMware or maybe in some other like a virtual box or oracle box. So there are too many tools which is coming market, so which can make our virtualization on the top of our server or our laptop, and we can install one virtual machine, and in that virtual machine we can install a minikube. So minikube is a standalone kubernetes cluster where we can do some testing, but remember that this is only for development environment. We are not using this in a production environment. So for production environment, so we'll be using uh, clusters where some more virtual machines and master and slave kind of architecture we'll be using. So in the second way, we'll be installing the same lab in AWS and Azure, and the third one we'll be using on premises like VMware Workstation, Oracle VirtualBox, or maybe some other tool uh, where we'll be needing three virtual machines, and with three virtual machine we'll be installing some our application like one in master and second. Okay, so first of Minikube. This is tool used to run a single node Kubernetes cluster to run our application. To run our application, we'll be using single node Kubernetes cluster. This is all we discussed. So this is second is like AWS cloud. We'll be using three node cluster. One is master and two worker node. Third is a VMware. So we'll be using three node cluster. One is a master and two worker node. Okay, so this is all about the way like how we can install. So Minikube, AWS, and VMware. So now in the entire tutorial, what all tools we're using? We'll be using VMware Workstation, in which we can create some virtual machine, and we can create this kind of environment like one master and two worker node, or maybe some different approach. Okay, mobile system. So first of all, like how VMware workstation looks like. So this is a VMware workstation in which we can install some machines. Where in my last lab we can see like a master worker and worker 02. So this is my laptop. On the top of laptop I installed VMware workstation. And inside the VMware workstation we can create a folder, and inside the folder we can create a virtual machine. So these all the virtual machines are containing a 2 GB of RAM and a processor. So we can create a lab here, the same kind of lab. I will discuss the lab portion of multiple nodes in the later, but this time we'll be discussing about the Minikube cluster. So this is again a VMware workstation. So what we are discussing about, and once we install Linux OS on it, then this image screen will come. The second is a mobile extam. This will be taking remote SSH of the machine. So a mobile extam's software, this is available here. So again that I shown. So here, like this is a Minikube on which our cluster is running. So this is the tool which is looks good, where we can create a multiple tabs of the same server, or in case if you guys don't want, then you can work with a putty also. Putty also fine. So again, we can take a remote of the multiple machines and the WinSCP. So WinSCP will be using to transfer the files from Windows to Linux. So this is the tool what we'll be using. So here we can see in the left side is our local machine laptop, and the right side will be taking remote. And in case we want to transfer some files, so slowly we can transfer the file post over using our deployment. And third, fourth one is a VS Code. So VS Code is used to edit the code, make the code changes, or maybe we need to push the changes to any git. So this is a VS Code which everyone is aware of. So let's move toward a Minikube installation. As I said earlier, so this is not used in production environment. This is used in development or testing purpose only. Because again, it's a standalone cluster. Again, it is doesn't having any dependency or maybe not too many nodes, only single node. In case if it crashes because of some reason, then our entire cluster will fail down. What are their prerequisite? Prerequisite RHL9. So whatever the libraries I'm using, whatever the binaries I'm using, it's supporting the RHL9. In case if you have some lower OS, then you can find out the libraries on behalf of it. Okay, and the minimum 2 GB of RAM is required. So for installing anything in a VMware workstation or anywhere, like a minimum 2 GB RAM is required. You can give some more GB of RAM, then our cluster will run faster. And two CPUs are required. That is a bare minimum, and 20 GB free space is required. Okay, so for the entire installation, let's see what all steps we need to go. So at least before installing, Let's go through one by one what all tasks we'll performing. First of all, we'll be installing Podman. So Podman is again like containerization. So we'll be using Podman as a containerization for Minikube. Then we'll be installing this Podman. Now we'll be verifying its version. And this is a kubectl. First of all, kubectl is required to interact with the cluster. So initially we have seen as a kubectl. So whenever this user wanted to interact with this one, so this is a middleman kubectl. So this user will fire some command, and this command will be interacting with the master node, and whatever the result, it will be getting to user. Okay, so coming back to the point, so this once a kubectl is installed, then we'll be checking its version. Okay, then we'll be installing the actual installation. That is, I install Minikube. So these are the binaries. Once we download the binaries, then we'll be installing Minikube. Then we'll be checking its version. So once Minikube is done, then we'll be starting its services. Once our Minikube is up and running, then we can say our installation is done. Kubectl and Minikubes are binded, and we will be able to fire some commands. And let's start the interaction with the cluster. So this command kubectl get nodes. So kubectl get nodes. So what this command does? It shows how many node cluster it is. It's a 3 node cluster or 10 node cluster. How many nodes are available? So once we fire kubectl get nodes, it will show us this one. It will show all IP 1, 2, 3. It will show all IP. How many worker nodes? What are their images? So this all will be getting. And kubectl got pods. So pods we already shown to you. Like what else? So all pods will come on that namespace. Okay, and here we'll be checking some add-ons like Minikube add-on list. So with the help of there are some add-ons given by default by Minikube and some we can enable later. So this is again a command which is used to find out the list and later on add-on enable dashboard. So we'll be enabling some one dashboard which is just will be showing you like how we can enable some more services which is already existing in the Minikube. So in case if you have requirement, you can enable some more. So again, this is again we are checking whether it's available or not. Here we can check the dashboard. So once our cluster is up and running, then we can create some deployments. So to the test whether our cluster is up and running, it's working fine or not. So here we'll be exposing the deployment. So here like a deployment term is new for you guys. So we'll be covering in next session, next few sessions. But this is again for testing the cluster, whether cluster is up and running. So we'll be running a basic command and we'll be giving you basic idea of what is the deployment, what is services, what is namespace. Okay, here and we can find out the service URL. So whenever we install the application, it is running on some ports. So again, in case if we need the application was running, where our application or service is running, we can find out with the help of Minikube. And once we get the URL, so this is the URL, then we can check with the help of curl command whether our application is running perfectly or not. Then at the last, we'll be checking in case if we don't have requirement or we need a pause or for 5, 6 hours, then we wanted to sometime we need to stop our cluster or stop our server, then we'll be using our minikube stop command, then minikube start whenever we need to start the server, and a minikube delete in case if we wanted to delete the entire cluster, then we can use a minikube delete. Okay, let's move toward the cluster and run the commands. Okay, so I have added this all the commands in Notepad, so I'll be attaching this Notepad so that will be easy for you guys and you can run in single go. Okay, so first of all, this is my server. Okay, so this is my server. Let's I will show you the IP 192.168.1.7. So this is the IP and subnet mask and all. So okay, so leave it. Now I'll be installing. It's a Podman. So once it is installed, then we'll be checking its version. So let it install. So this is Minikube is a very good cluster for a single cluster, and so that we don't need too many 3, 4 servers is required, like billing is required. So this is again a single one which we can easily install in our laptop, and we can run our basic testing. So some I've seen some of the people are using this one, and they are doing their task. They are running some application and doing some testing on it. So this Podman is about to install. Okay, so this is installed. Let's see what is the version. So Podman version. So it's a Podman is installed now. Its a version is 5.22. And let's move toward next step. Now what we'll be doing, we'll be installing a kubectl. So kubectl by default won't come in a Linux machine as it's a kubectl binaries, Kubernetes binaries. So let's download this kubectl, and once the downloading is done, then we'll be giving some permissions and we'll be moving it to bin path. So this downloading part is done. Now let's check what is the kubectl version comes in. Okay, so kubectl version. So client version is 1.31 and customized version. Customize is again a tool which is now by default coming in with the help of kubectl also. But again, we'll be covering in the some playlist. Okay, then what this is our main motto, like to install the Minikube. So we'll be installing a Minikube. So first of all, let's download the binaries. Once the binaries are downloaded, then we'll be installing. So this is very small binaries, so it won't take too much time. Only installation will take some time. So this is downloaded. Now we'll be installing. So installation is done as I said because this is a very small binaries and let's move toward Minikube version. So its version is 1.31. So we have seen like a Kubernetes is 1. Kubectl version is 1.31 and the Minikube version is 1.35 and this is a commit ID, whatever it is. Okay, now what we will be doing it, we'll be we'll be starting the Minikube cluster. So till that installation is done, but the services are not started. So now let's start Minikube. I'll be pausing the script. Okay, so after 5 minutes, I've seen like this Minikube is started, and this is something not error. In case if you are getting something like this, so that you can ignore this one. It is just a downloading KIC artifact. So it's failed in downloading KIC artifact, which is not a part of it. So you can ignore this error. Okay, so till here we have done it. Now let's talk. Now let's interact with our Kubernetes cluster. CTL get nodes. Okay, so kubectl get nodes. So what it says, like how many clusters are there? How many servers are there? We have one more command hyphen o wide. So this is wide means some more output, some more information will come apart from that. Till here it's version. Apart from that, it's IP. IP of the server, what images it is using, what is kernel version, and what is container runtime. So here Docker is the container runtime. Now here, what we are able to see like a mini cube. So number of nodes available, it's a mini cube. Nodes means Kubernetes cluster. How many Kubernetes cluster in how many nodes are there? Okay. So and let's see about kubectl get pods. Okay. So what it says, it doesn't have any pods. Now let's learn about namespace first. Okay, so once we check the kubectl get namespace, so namespace we can write in this form also. So both commands are same. This is a short form. Okay, so default namespace in case if we create anything, so namespace like you can say like individual box or means say whenever we wanted to run our application or segregation is required, then we can create a separate namespace and we can run our resources on there. Suppose we need to run some pod, so we can create our namespace and we can run some pods on it, or maybe run some deployment. So what will happen, it will segregate the environment. Suppose in a single server we have two clients, like one is client A, one is client B, and we wanted to segregation so that both of the networking and resources will not clash. So we'll be creating one namespace, and will be whatever the new resources will be creating, will be creating in a new namespace. So you can see, like you can assume like it's a namespace is a segregated environment where we can. So we'll be covering more hands-on practical with the help of namespace. What is namespace? We'll be checking with some practical diagrams also. So, but for the time being, let's okay. So, as we said, default. So, default is a namespace by which is come in case if we create any of the resources for the testing purpose, then it will be moving to default namespace. This is again kube node lease, kube public. These are the two more namespace which is again Kubernetes using, and this is a kube system. So, this is a kube system is the important namespace which is again it is for Minikube. So, Minikube will be installed somewhere, and this is the place where Minikube will be creating their own container. So let's check the pods -n and cube system. Okay, so we are able to see these are the pods like a core DNS, etcd, kube AP server. These all things we learned in our previous chapters that AP servers require, controller is required, schedulers required, storage provisioners it was required, core DNS. So here we can see like it's running. Restart, no restart, and age is 3 minutes back. So 3 minutes back only we restarted the cluster. So we have seen the pods, how pods looks like that again we have discussed in the older slides. Okay, so now our cluster is created kubectl version. Okay, and kubectl version we have already seen like what is the version. So this is the version. Okay, now let's come back. So these all things we have discussed, and now coming to add-on list. Whenever we install the Minikube, so it is coming with some add-ons. So this is a by default add-ons. You can see like this is add-on name. There are too many add-ons. So by default, what happen whenever software developers create one product, so they are not starting all the service in startups. It's a disabled. So whatever services we require, we can enable at the time, and we can disable it in case if it's not utilized, so that our services, too many services are not running on the single node. Okay, so I'll be giving an example. I'll be enabling it one or two services like this dashboard. So we can see like a green one. Green one is two storage class and storage provisioner. So only storage services are enabled. I'll be enabling one dashboard for just enabling so that you will be learning how we can enable some dashboard. Okay, now we can see this one also. So dashboard services enabled. So the dashboard service by which we can by which we can get the dashboard of it. Okay, so let's move forward. So what this command does? Kubectl create deployment, and we'll be creating deployment name is web01. We'll be using nginx image, and its replicas are 2. Here replicas equal to 2 means 2 pods will run with the deployment, and deployment name is web01. So deployment and services will be covering in the next few slides. So this is just for testing the cluster, whether our cluster is up and running or it is coming with some problem. In case if we are able to create or run this kind of command, it means a cluster is up and running. So you can see whenever a new resource create, it will be giving some output what is created. So it says the created means it's already done. So what it created? It created deployment with the name of /web01. So means the web01 is the deployment name what we have given. So let's whenever a new resource created, kubectl is the command by which we can fetch the details like okay, and one more is shortcut is deploy also. So both giving the same output, and let's -o wide so that it will give you a detailed output. So let's see web01. So deployment in case we have 10 deployments, all this will be visible here. So like kubectl get deployment. So web01 is a deployment name, And how many replicas, how many pods are there? 2 by 2. So 2 by 2 means two deployment with we needed, and how many are in ready state. Suppose one deployment, one pod is in ready state, so it will come like 1 by 2. All are up to date with the current image and available to its age is 45-second back we have created. Its containers is Nginx container because image what we use is Nginx. All Nginx images we have used. So, and then selector. Selector means app equal to web 01. So whenever it created, then label and selector comes under picture, which we'll be discussing on the next slide. Okay. So now we'll be exposing this deployment. So once we expose this deployment, then let me. So what will happening? By in the first one, first we created deployment. Now we are exposing the deployment. So means what were the pod? Pod means an application installed, and we wanted to open that application from the external world or from the remote machine. Till the time we won't be able to open an application from remote machine, that is not useful. So what we have to do, we have to expose the deployment to the external world, and for that exposing, we'll be using this command. So we'll be deep dive discussing on what is deployment, what is services, but this is we are using for testing purpose only. So here what will happen? Services web 01 is created. So first of all, like deployment is created, and second is service is created. So let check about services. So this one is there we have seen two cubes, two services. So this one this is 8 minute back. This is by default Kubernetes admin, so we should not touch it. This is used by Minikube, or I mean to say like a Kubernetes admin. So no, never delete this one. In case if you delete, then it will come automatically, but so it's required not to delete this one. Okay. And this is a web 01. This is the service which we created some minutes, some second back. So let's show it like 24 second back. Okay. And again, like it's a shortcut is SVC. Okay. That okay. So web 01 service type is node port. So we have some types of services which we'll be using in our next sessions. And it's a cluster IP is this one. External IP is none. So and the ports in which port it is running like 31518 and TCP port. Its age is 67 second and selector. So we'll be discussing the but what it mean like our cluster is working perfectly. Okay. So let's see in case if we wanted to check the application whether we are able to kernel it or not. Okay. So Minikube give a facility like we can get an application URL by which we can check whether we will be able to access our application or not. You can see welcome to Nginx. So it means our cluster is working perfectly, and this is the only thing which we wanted in our in this section. And the last of it, like how to manage a Kubernetes. So suppose a case when we don't need this machine or we wanted to shut down, we are going outside, we are not performing any lab. So what we're doing, we'll be stopping the Kubernetes lab, Minikube lab. Okay. So what it says, one node stop. So now Kubernetes cluster will not work. Okay. See, this is the error what will be coming. So in case if we won't start the service, then this error will come. Okay, let's start the services. It will take 1 or 2 minutes and the service will start. And the third one is Minikube delete. So you can delete the cluster in case if we have a requirement, we don't want the cluster right now. So we can see done. Kubestat is now configured to use Minikube and then default namespace. Okay, let's run some same command again. See, it is giving the result. So what it mean like kubectl is configured successfully Minikube. So in this lab, what we have learned it like how to start Minikube cluster. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.